The jungle was alive with beauty. Towering trees stretched high into the sky, their branches covered in thick green leaves. Colorful flowers bloomed beneath them, spreading sweet scents into the air. Clear streams ran gently through the forest, sparkling under the sunlight like silver ribbons. Birds chirped, insects buzzed, and the soft rustle of leaves filled the quiet spaces. In this peaceful world, the baboons made their home. They lived together as a close family, always looking out for one another. Every day, they filled the jungle with their energy and joy. The baboons loved to swing from branch to branch, their arms strong and steady. They chased one another through the trees, leaping with laughter. Their calls echoed to the forest, full of playfulness and cheer. They spent their days playing games, grooming each other, and enjoying the simple happiness of being together. For the baboons, the jungle was more than just a home. It was a playground, a place of safety, and a land full of adventure. Life was good, and each day brought new reasons to smile. Before we begin this heart-touching story, please make sure to subscribe. Your support helps us bring more beautiful stories, just like this one. One bright and sunny morning, the jungle awoke with a gentle breeze and the songs of birds echoing through the trees. Sunlight filtered softly through the leaves, casting golden patches on the forest floor. The troop of baboons stirred with excitement. Today felt special. The air was fresh, the sky was clear, and the jungle called to them. Full of energy, the baboons decided to explore beyond their usual paths and ventured deeper into forests they called home. They moved as a group, climbing over roots, leaping across branches, and stopping often to look around with curious eyes. The jungle stretched wide around them, endless trees, fluttering butterflies, and the smell of ripening fruit drifting through the air. Soon, they came upon a grove full of juicy, ripe fruits. The baboons could not resist. They scrambled up trees with ease, reaching for bunches of bananas, golden mangoes, and clusters of dark berries. The branches swayed under their weight, but the baboons moved with skill and grace. They gathered the fruits quickly, filling their hands and mouths, and sat together in a shady spot to enjoy the feast. Some baboons began teasing each other, making funny faces and playful noises. Then someone let out a cheerful cry, and just like that, a fruit-eating contest began. Laughter echoed to the jungle as they competed to see who could eat the most. Mouths stuffed with berries, cheeks puffed out with mango slices, the baboons clapped, cheered, and rolled on the ground with joy. There were no prizes, only fun and the feeling of being together. That morning, the jungle was filled with the happy sounds of a troop that knew how to enjoy life through exploration, play, and the simple sweetness of fruit shared among friends. As the baboons played happily in the cool river, splashing and chasing one another, something caught the sharp eye of one of the younger baboons. At first, it looked like just another piece of floating leaf or wood drifting gently along with the current. But as the baboon watched more closely, a feeling of unease grew inside. That drifting shape was moving strangely, too still, too fragile. Curious and a little worried, the baboon called out to the others. One by one, they quieted their play and turned their attention to the strange object floating in the water. Slowly, the troop gathered near the riverbank, eyes wide with concern. As they got closer, their worry deepened. It was not a piece of wood or a leaf at all. It was a small human baby, floating helplessly and struggling against a strong current. The baby's tiny arms flailed, and its soft cries were nearly lost beneath the rushing water. Time seemed to slow as the baboons looked at each other in shock. Without hesitation, a brave and strong male baboon sprang into action. Without a moment's thought for his own safety, he plunged into the cold water and began to swim toward the baby. Every second felt like a lifetime as the baboon fought the current, reaching the baby just in time. Gently and carefully, he lifted the baby from the water, making sure the little head stayed above the waves. The other baboons watched breathlessly, their hearts pounding with hope and fear. When the brave baboon finally reached the shore, the troop burst into cheers and clapping, relieved that the baby was safe. The jungle, once filled with laughter and play, now held a deep and quiet respect for the courage and kindness that had just saved a life. The baboons were splashing and playing, their laughter echoing to the jungle as the cool river carried them along. Suddenly, One of the younger baboons paused, his eyes fixed on something floating in the water. At first, it looked like a piece of bark or a large leaf, but something was different. It did not move with the current like the others. Instead, it seemed to drift awkwardly, almost as if it were struggling. The young baboon called out, alerting the troop. Slowly, the others stopped their play and gathered by the river's edge, curiosity turning into growing concern. As they leaned closer, their eyes widened in shock. Floating on the water was a tiny human baby, helpless and caught in the swift current. The baby's small arms kicked frantically, trying to stay above the rushing water. Its soft cries were almost drowned by the sound of the river. Panic rushed through the troop. The jungle felt still for a moment, as if holding its breath. But the baboons did not hesitate. A strong and brave male baboon leapt into the river with powerful strokes, fighting the current without fear. Every second was critical. The baby's life hung in the balance. With careful hands, the baboon reached the struggling child. He lifted the baby gently, cradling it close to keep its head above water. Back on the riverbank, the other baboons watched silently, their hearts pounding with hope and fear. Then, as the brave baboon reached the shore safely, a wave of relief swept through the troop. The baby was saved. In that moment of great danger, when every second counted, a brave and strong male baboon did not hesitate. Without thinking twice, he leapt into the rushing river. The water was cold and fast, but the baboon pushed forward with powerful strokes. His eyes were focused on the tiny, struggling baby floating in the current. Carefully and gently, he reached the child. With tenderness surprising for such a wild creature, the baboon lifted the baby, making sure to keep his head above the water so it could breathe. Holding the baby close to his chest, he began to swim back to the riverbank. The current pulled hard against him, but his strength and determination were stronger. Back on shore, the rest of the baboons waited anxiously, their eyes never leaving the water. When the brave baboon finally emerged with the baby safe in his arms, a wave of joy and relief spread through the troop. The baboons cheered softly, clapping their hands and making happy sounds. They surrounded the baby gently, happy to see that the little one was unharmed and safe. In that moment, the jungle was filled not just with the sounds of play, but with the quiet gratitude of a life saved by courage and kindness. After the brave baboon brought the baby safely to shore, the troop moved quickly but carefully. They carried the tiny, trembling child through the thick jungle to a quiet clearing, where their wise and gentle leader waited. This female baboon was known throughout the troop for her calm strength and kindness. She studied the baby closely, her eyes full of concern but also hope. The child was soaked and scared, its small body shaking with cold and fear. With gentle hands, the leader examined the baby carefully. She checked the child's breathing, looked for any injuries, and whispered soft, soothing sounds to calm the frightened little one. Relief spread through the troop when they realized the baby was healthy. No broken bones, no wounds, just scared and alone in the wild jungle. But the danger was not over. The baboons knew the baby's family must be searching desperately, lost and worried. The question hung in the air: how long would it take for the family to find their child? And what would happen in the meantime? Determined to protect the child, the baboons made a silent promise to care for the baby until its family returned. Day by day, they worked together to keep the baby safe and comfortable. The baboons gathered sweet, ripe fruits, bananas, mangoes, and berries to feed the child, learning carefully how to offer the food gently. They built a small bed from soft leaves and twigs, nestled in a sheltered spot hidden beneath the trees. The baby's tiny body was cradled in nature's embrace, far from harm but still in a strange new world. The troop took turns watching over the child, day and night, never letting the baby be alone. Their protective eyes never wavered, their gentle touches full of care. Though the jungle was wild and unpredictable, the baboons created a safe home filled with love. Yet, beneath the calm surface, the worry lingered. Would the baby's family return soon? As days slowly passed in the heart of the jungle, an unexpected and beautiful change began to unfold. The baboons, once cautious and watchful, found their hearts opening wide to the tiny human child in their care. At first, the baby was a stranger, small, fragile, and very different from the baboons. The child's wide eyes were filled with fear and confusion. But little by little, as the baboons gently cared for the baby, something special started to grow between them. The baby began to smile, reaching out with tiny hands to touch the soft fur of the baboons. The troop responded with soft chattering sounds and gentle grooming, as if welcoming the child into their close family. Slowly, the baboons began to see the baby as one of their own. They shared food, comforted the child when it cried, and stayed close during storms and quiet nights. The jungle echoed with new sounds, laughter mixed with the baboons' joyful calls. Yet, beneath this growing bond, a quiet tension remained. The baboons knew the baby's true family was out there somewhere, searching desperately in the wild jungle. Would the family find their child before the danger of the jungle returned? The baboons stayed vigilant, protective, and loving, but the question hung heavy in the air. How long would this peaceful time last? Every moment was filled with hope and worry, as the bond grew stronger and the wait for reunion stretched on. In the midst of the jungle's wild beauty, a family was being formed, one built on love, trust, and an unbreakable bond between very different creatures. The jungle was calm, filled with the soft sounds of rustling leaves and distant bird calls. The baboons were busy tending to the baby, their playful chatter filling the air. Suddenly, a new sound sliced through quiet, a deep, unfamiliar rumble growing louder and louder. The troop froze, their heads turning toward the noise. It was unlike anything they had heard before, a powerful engine roaring, shaking the ground beneath their feet. The baboons' eyes widened with curiosity and a spark of hope. Could this strange sound mean the baby's family was near? Their hearts raced as they cautiously moved through the dense jungle toward the source. Every branch they stepped over, every leaf they brushed past, was filled with a mix of excitement and tension. Through the thick canopy, they spotted it, a car moving steadily, stirring up dust and leaves as it pushed deeper into the jungle. The vehicle's headlights glimmered between the trees like a sign from the outside world. The baboons gathered closer, silent but alert, their eyes fixed on the approaching car. The air felt heavy with anticipation. Would this be the moment they had all been waiting for? The jungle seemed to hold its breath as the car drew nearer, bringing with it the promise of reunion, the possibility of goodbye, and the end of their shared adventure. The car slowly came to a halt at the edge of the dense jungle. The woman stepped out, her face etched with a mixture of worry, exhaustion, and a faint glimmer of hope. Every step she took was careful, as if she was following an invisible thread that led her to her lost child. Her eyes scanned the thick greenery, searching desperately for any sign of the baby. The jungle seemed vast and overwhelming, but something in the air made her believe she was close. Meanwhile, the baboons stood quietly nearby, their eyes fixed on the woman. The wise female leader stepped forward with the baby cradled gently in her arms. The troop watched silently, sensing that this moment was filled with deep meaning. With great care and tenderness, the leader reached out and slowly handed the baby into the woman's waiting arms. For a brief moment, time seemed to stand still as the child looked up at the face it knew, the face filled with love and longing. Then, the woman's expression melted, and tears began to stream down her cheeks. She pulled the baby tightly against her chest, overwhelmed by a rush of emotions, relief, joy, and gratitude all mingling together. Her whispers filled the quiet jungle, soft words of thanks and promises never to be separated again. Around them, the baboons watched with a mix of pride and sadness, knowing their duty was done but feeling the weight of farewell. The jungle, once filled with uncertainty, now held a moment of pure love and reunion, an unforgettable story of bravery, kindness, and the powerful bond between a mother and her child. The car's engine faded slowly into the distance, leaving behind the quiet rustle of leaves and the soft calls of the jungle. The baboons stood motionless, their eyes fixed on the disappearing vehicle, where the mother held her baby close, safe at last. A hush fell over the troop. The air was thick with a mix of emotions, pride, sadness, and a lingering sense of wonder at what had just unfolded. The baboons had faced the unknown, acted with bravery, and formed a bond that crossed the boundaries of species. Their leader let out a low, gentle call, a sound filled with both farewell and gratitude. One by one, the baboons answered, their voices weaving together like a quiet song of goodbye. Though the baby was no longer theirs to protect, the troops' hearts beat stronger, knowing they had made a difference. They had shown that kindness and courage can thrive in even the wildest places. The jungle around them seemed to breathe a new life, a life touched by compassion, hope, and an unspoken promise that such stories of unity would continue. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting golden light to the towering trees, the baboons slowly returned to their homes, forever changed by the extraordinary journey they had shared. In this moment of farewell, the jungle whispered a powerful truth. Sometimes, the smallest acts of bravery create the greatest stories, and the strongest families are made not just by blood, but by love and trust.